I woke up on a Sunday morning, and my wife was gone. On the fridge, a note, "Goodbye, loser. I never wanted you." The next day, fraud alerts started popping up on my banking and credit card apps, but I just laughed because for 7 years, I thought I knew the woman I was married to. I was wrong. She wasn't a wife, she was a project. And the goodbye note on the fridge was just the first step of her plan. The second step, I made sure, was behind bars. Let's just say she ended up getting a new ankle accessory, an electronic one. Laura and I met 7 years ago in a coffee shop. I was working on my laptop. She walked in with a smile that seemed to light up the whole place. We talked, we laughed, and soon we were inseparable. We got married 2 years later, bought a house, and adopted a dog. I thought we were happy. But this past year, Laura changed. She became obsessed with the gym, always talking about her trainer, Diego. I saw it as a positive thing. I supported her, I even paid for the sessions. I didn't see the signs, the constant nights out, the short answers, the social media stories where Diego was always nearby. I believed everything was fine. What a mistake. That Sunday morning, I woke up and Laura wasn't there. The bed was empty, the house was silent. I went down to the kitchen thinking maybe she was there. But all I found was a note on the fridge, held by a heart-shaped magnet from a trip we took. It said, "Goodbye, loser. I never wanted you." I stood there with the paper in my hand, feeling my world collapse. 7 years together, 5 married, and it ended like this, with a note like that. I grabbed my phone and called her. Surprisingly, she answered. "What do you want?" she said with an icy voice. "Laura, what's going on? Where are you? What is this note?" I asked, trying not to shout. "It's over, Juan. I can't stand you anymore. I'm leaving. Don't look for me." And she hung up. I tried calling again, but I was already blocked. Her social media was wiped clean, as if she had vanished. I looked around. Her clothes were still in the closet, but her wallet, keys, and phone were gone. This wasn't just a fight, this was planned. On Monday, all hell broke loose. I was at work when my phone started vibrating non-stop. Alerts from the bank, from credit cards, thousands of dollars spent on expensive hotels, luxury stores, airline tickets. I called the bank, and they confirmed the accounts were in my name, but I hadn't made those purchases. I sat there in a daze, and then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I understood. Laura didn't just leave me, she was robbing me, and she wasn't alone. I'm a financial analyst, I know how to follow the money trail. I opened my laptop and reviewed the transactions. They were from amateurs. A hotel in Miami, jewelry, flights to Las Vegas. Who spends like that? Someone who believes they won't get caught. And that's when I thought of Diego, Laura's trainer. For months she had been acting strange, always at the gym, posting stories with him. I saw it as a healthy hobby, but now it all made sense. Diego with his perfect smile and gym selfies. Diego, who was with my wife. I called Marcos, my best friend. He's the kind of guy who always has a plan even if it's sometimes a bit extreme. I told him about the note, the call, and the alerts. "Dude, you got scammed," he said. "Your wife is with this guy, and they're spending your money. But we're going to teach them a lesson." "How?" I asked. "Freeze the accounts, track everything. If they're as stupid as they seem, they'll slip up." That night, Marcos came over to my place. I froze all the accounts I could and reported the fraud to the bank. I also spoke to a lawyer, Javier, whom my sister Clara recommended. Clara was furious. "I always knew Laura was a snake," she said, bringing me food so I wouldn't fall apart. I didn't respond, but I knew she was right. Javier was straight to the point, document everything. No emotions, just evidence. I nodded. Inside, I wanted to scream. It wasn't just about the money, it was the betrayal. That phone call, her cold voice, "I never wanted you." I wanted Laura and Diego to pay. The following days were insane. Every bank alert was a clue. Laura and Diego were in Las Vegas, spending like there was no tomorrow, luxury cars, casino suites, expensive clothes, but they were careless. Laura never logged out of our shared email account, and everything was there: receipts, flight confirmations, messages with Diego that made me sick. "Don't worry, babe. The loser won't notice a thing," he had written. What a pair of geniuses, Marcos laughed when he read it. "They're idiots. We're going to use this." I handed everything over to Javier. Every transaction was another piece of evidence. But I didn't just want the money back. I wanted their lies exposed. Instead of taking it public on social media right away, I decided to start with our inner circle. I talked to Clara and my brother Tomas and showed them the proof. They told other friends and family. Soon, everyone was talking. How could Laura do this? And this Diego guy always seemed so full of himself. The news spread like wildfire among people who knew Laura. Some even confronted her via text, asking what was going on. She responded with vague excuses, but no one believed her. I followed their steps as if it were a game. I froze accounts, tracked purchases. I contacted the credit card companies and reported everything. Meanwhile, our social circle was following the story. One of Laura's cousins saw a picture of her in a Las Vegas casino and sent us a screenshot. "What are you doing there spending so much?" she wrote. Laura didn't reply, but the cousin sent us the picture. I smiled. They were falling. My family was my rock. Clara kept me grounded, bringing me food and talking to me. Tomas, who's a wizard with computers, tracked the IP addresses from the emails. They were from a hotel in Las Vegas. Every new piece of information made me stronger, but not everything was easy. At night, the note and the phone call would replay in my head. "I never wanted you." Her cold voice on the phone. It hurt. It wasn't love anymore, it was an open wound. I swore to myself I wouldn't let it destroy me. Javier called me at the end of the week. "The evidence is solid," he said. "We can sue for fraud and identity theft. If we keep this up, you won't just get your money back, they're going to jail." "Perfect," I replied, looking at the note on the table. Let the games begin. Marcos and I spent our nights reviewing emails and receipts. Laura still hadn't logged out of our shared account, and it was a gift that kept on giving. We found everything: bookings at luxury hotels, clothing purchases, even an email where Diego was bragging about a $10,000 watch he bought with my card. "The idiot won't even notice," he wrote. I almost laughed. They were so mistaken. Javier, the lawyer, kept me focused. "Document everything," he would say. "If you want them to pay, we need solid evidence." He gave me a list: transactions, messages, anything that proved they were using my identity. I froze every account I could, even a secret credit card Laura had opened in my name. I also reported the scam to the bank, which launched an investigation. Every step made me feel stronger. My brother Tomas was essential. The guy is a genius with computers and tracked the IP addresses from Laura's emails. We confirmed they were staying at a hotel in Las Vegas and found a rental contract for a luxury car in Diego's name, paid for with my card. "This is pure fraud," Javier said when I showed him. "We've got them." Meanwhile, our inner circle was doing its part. My sister Clara made sure everyone knew the truth. She spoke with friends, cousins, and even Laura's mother, who was furious. "I didn't raise her to be like this," she said, sending a message demanding an explanation. Laura responded with excuses, but no one believed her. Even close friends, like Pablo, started to doubt her. Pablo called me one night. "I didn't know Laura was like this, Juan. I'm so sorry." I told him it wasn't his fault, but deep down, I was satisfied to see her mask falling off. To turn up the pressure, Marcos had a brilliant idea. We contacted the hotel where Laura and Diego were staying, pretending to be from the bank. We asked them to verify the card on the reservation, knowing it was already blocked. The hotel tried to charge it, failed, and sent a notification to both of them. In an email we intercepted, Diego wrote, "What's going on with the cards? This isn't looking good." Laura replied, "Relax, we'll figure it out." They were nervous, and that gave me pleasure. Later, Tomas found something even better. Diego had a history of scams. He had been sued years before for swindling a client at another gym. Clara told a friend who worked at Diego's current gym, and soon the rumors started to spread. Clients canceled classes, and the place launched an internal investigation. Diego was losing his reputation, and Laura could do nothing to save him. The final blow, before the trial, came from one of their own mistakes. We found an email where Laura and Diego were planning to transfer money from my account to an offshore one. They tried to make the transfer, but since everything was frozen, the bank blocked it and notified me. Javier almost jumped for joy. "This is a serious crime," he said. "We have fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. They're finished." One morning, Javier called me with news. The police located them in Las Vegas. They're being taken in for questioning. Get ready, because you'll be seeing them soon. My stomach churned. Since that phone call on Sunday when she said, "Don't look for me," I hadn't spoken to Laura. The idea of facing her made me nervous, but I also wanted to look her in the eye and show her that I hadn't been destroyed. The reunion happened in a bank meeting room, where they had been summoned because of the transactions. I walked in with Javier, and there they were, Laura sitting next to Diego. She looked tired, with dark circles and messy hair. Diego, on the other hand, tried to look confident, but his hands were shaking. When Laura saw me, her face hardened. "What are you doing here?" she spat, as if I were the problem. "Taking back what's mine," I replied calmly. "And making sure you both pay for what you've done." Laura laughed, but it was a nervous laugh. "You have nothing on me. This is a misunderstanding, period." "Misunderstanding?" I asked, pulling the dossier Javier had helped me organize from my bag. "Fraudulent transactions, messages where you plan to rob me, and attempted offshore transfer." "Should I go on?" Diego turned red. "You don't know what you're talking about," he muttered, avoiding my gaze. Laura leaned toward me. "You're pathetic, Juan. You always were. That's why I left you." Those words hurt, I won't lie. But instead of breaking me, they gave me strength. "Keep talking," I said. "Everything you say will be used in court." Laura paled. Diego put a hand on her arm, as if to say shut up. I left that room feeling like I had won that round. The trial began a week later. Javier had built a rock-solid case, and the prosecutor was on our side. The first hearing was in a small courtroom, with Laura and Diego sitting on the other side, represented by a lawyer who seemed completely out of his depth. The prosecutor presented the evidence, the receipts, the emails, the car rental contract, the attempted offshore transfer. Each document was a blow, and I could see Laura and Diego growing more nervous with each one. Javier prepared me to testify. When I took the stand, I told them everything: the note, the phone call, the bank alerts, how I discovered their plan. I remained calm, even though inside I wanted to scream. Laura's lawyer tried to paint me as a paranoid husband, but Javier dismantled his arguments with questions that made it clear Laura and Diego had acted with intent. The most satisfying part was watching Laura try to explain herself. She took the stand and claimed it was all a mistake, that she didn't know those cards were mine. The prosecutor destroyed her, presenting the messages where she and Diego planned everything. Diego wasn't any better. He tried to blame Laura, saying she pressured him. The judge did not look impressed. After the first hearing, Javier told me, "This is going well, but it's not over. We need to keep the pressure on." I knew he was right. Laura and Diego could still try anything, and I wasn't about to let my guard down. That night, Clara and Marcos came over to celebrate. "You've got them cornered," Marcos said, raising a beer. Clara agreed, "They deserve it. But don't get overconfident, Juan," she added, and she was right. Laura's note remained on my table, a reminder of why I was doing this. "I never wanted you." Those words didn't hurt as much anymore, now they were my motivation. The trial continued, and each hearing was a spectacle. Laura tried to play the victim, saying she was confused and that Diego had manipulated her. Diego, in turn, threw all the blame on her, claiming he was just following orders. The judge looked at them with a mix of boredom and contempt, and the prosecutor picked them apart with every question. At one point, Laura started screaming on the stand, accusing me of being obsessive and claiming it was all my fault for not giving her enough attention. The prosecutor then showed an email where she told Diego, "When we're done with his money, we'll be on a beach laughing." The room fell silent. Laura sank in her chair. That was pure gold. Outside the courtroom, I kept tightening the noose. Clara, my sister, and Marcos, my best friend, made sure our inner circle kept up the pressure. Laura's mother, who could no longer defend her, cut off contact. Mutual friends like Pablo stopped talking to her. Even the gym where Diego worked fired him after the rumors about his scams spread. Clara told me Diego tried to get a job elsewhere, but no one would hire him. "He's running out of options," she said, smiling. "Good job, Juan." Tomas continued to be a genius. He tracked down a secondary email account Laura used to talk to Diego and found something valuable. They had tried to sell the $10,000 watch at a pawn shop in Las Vegas. The deal fell through because the police already had them in their sights, but the email was further proof of their audacity. Javier presented this in court, and the judge wrote something in his notebook with a look that said, "This is wrapping up." Still, Laura and Diego didn't give up easily. One night, I got a message from an unknown number. It was, "Laura, if you continue with this, you'll regret it. We can make a deal." I laughed. What could she possibly offer me? I showed the message to Javier, who added it to the case file as attempted intimidation. "They're desperate," he said. "That's good. It means they know they're going to lose." The breaking point came in the second to last hearing. The prosecutor called a surprise witness, an employee from the Las Vegas pawn shop. The man confirmed that Laura and Diego had tried to sell the watch and that Diego had become aggressive when they asked for identification. The testimony was devastating. The defense lawyer could barely form a question, and when it was over, Diego looked like he wanted to disappear. Laura, for the first time, said nothing. She just stared at the floor. That night, Marcos brought beers to celebrate. "Dude, you've got them," he said. "This is better than a movie." Clara smiled. "Screw them." But they insisted, "Don't let your guard down." They were right. Even though the trial was going our way, I wanted to make sure they had no way out. I had an idea and executed it with Tomas's help, all within legal bounds. We created a social media account to expose Diego's life of ostentation and posted a screenshot of one of the emails where he bragged about scamming the loser. We didn't mention any names, but our friends knew exactly who we were talking about. The post was shared across our circle, and soon, Diego became a laughingstock. A client from the gym wrote to him, "How could you sink so low, man?" Diego deleted his account the next day. It was a small victory, but it was enough to make me smile. The final hearing was the nail in the coffin. The prosecutor presented all the evidence, from the emails to the pawn shop employee's testimony. Javier concluded with a closing statement that left the room in silence. They didn't just steal money. They stole trust, security, and dignity. They do not deserve clemency. When he finished, the judge left to deliberate. Laura and Diego barely looked at each other. They knew they were finished. The verdict came quickly: guilty on all counts of fraud, identity theft, and attempted money laundering. Laura was sentenced to 3 years in prison and a fine that would leave her destitute. Diego, because of his history of scams, got 5 years. On top of that, they were both ordered to repay every single cent they had spent, which meant they would leave prison with nothing. As the judge finished reading the sentence, Laura looked at me from across the room. There was no hatred in her eyes, only defeat. I left without saying a word. After the trial, I could have basked in the victory, but I didn't want to. Laura's note, still on my table, no longer hurt. It was just a piece of paper. But the pain she caused me, that emptiness, gave me an idea. During the process, I had learned so much about fraud and tracking down scams. I thought about all the people who go through the same thing, betrayed, robbed, humiliated. I wanted to help them. With the recovered money and the help of Marcos and Tomas, I founded a small company. I named it Shield, and its goal was simple: to protect people from fraud like the one Laura pulled on me. We started offering account monitoring services, legal consulting, and financial security education. I hired a few experts, including a friend of Tomas who was into cybersecurity. Within a few months, we had clients, families, small businesses, and even a few celebrities who had been scammed. Every case we solved felt like closing another chapter of my own story. Clara became my biggest cheerleader. "Look what you've done," she said one night over dinner at my place. "You turned your pain into something great." Marcos, always the joker, added. "And on top of that, you taught those two idiots a lesson." We laughed, but I knew he was right. Laura and Diego didn't just lose their freedom, they lost their reputation, their friends, and their future. And me. I was building mine. It wasn't all easy. There were nights when the echo of Laura's voice, "that I never wanted you," would return to my mind. But instead of letting it drown me, I used it as fuel. I wasn't the loser she thought I was. I was someone who fought back and won. I rebuilt my life piece by piece. I started going out with friends again, joined a cycling group, and even adopted another dog, a goofy Labrador that filled the house with joy. Months later, I received a letter from Laura, sent from prison. It was an attempt at an apology. She said she was sorry, that Diego had manipulated her. I felt nothing as I read it. I tore the letter up and threw it away. I didn't need her words. That chapter was closed. Today, as I write this, I'm in my office at Shield. We have a new case, a woman whose partner scammed her in a scheme similar to Laura's. I'm helping her recover her money and her confidence. Every time I help someone, I feel like I give new meaning to what I went through. Laura and Diego thought they had destroyed me. But they did the opposite, they gave me a purpose.
Reddit Relics comment. Well, at least Laura got the upgrade she deserved, from a life of luxury to a shared cell. And Diego? He landed the longest workout of his life, doing time with an ankle monitor. Poetic justice served with a side of irony.